It's Vicky back with another alcohol ink painting. So with this one, of course, I started with a piece of Durabrite paper and then I used 4 different colored inks. Usually I don't use that many, but this one I just did. And it's kind of a yellow and a purple and a blue and kind of a reddish color. And so putting that yellow in there kind of gave it almost like a warmer tone, which I like. So then I stared at this for a long time trying to figure out what it was going to be. And with that purple that's kind of in the middle, it just kind of felt like a passageway, maybe some rocks or something. And then in the middle of that, there was just this big round-ish kind of shape. And so I felt like that could be a head of something. So I settled on a hippo. And I thought the hippo could be swimming kind of around like some kind of rock or object or something and coming out from behind it. So that's what I did. And I got a picture of a hippo, a swimming hippo, and got an outline and transferred it onto my background. And then I started in. I started in the back of the hippo, and as you can see, I was trying to make some hippo-ish texture, and I really wasn't sure what that was going to be, so I ended up kind of smoothing that out a little more because it just didn't look right. But uh, as I do with all of my paintings, I kind of try and just block out the big shapes and figure out where things are going to go and the different places on the animal where it's going to need a highlight and a shadow. And so that's kind of what I'm figuring out right now in the painting. This painting I kind of did on autopilot today because I woke up with kind of just a giant headache. But I started back at school, and so my time's kind of limited, and I set aside today to paint, and I didn't want to miss out on that because painting's such a privilege to me because I'm busy with working. I work at a school. I'm a teacher, and getting ready for school and then doing school and then still taking care of my home. And so, when I get time to paint, I want to just sit down and do that, even if I have a headache. So that's what I did today. But it was a challenge because it's not a fun thing to be doing anything when you have a headache, as those of you who get headaches know. So, but I was doing it anyway. But like I said, it was kind of an autopilot. I didn't feel like I was really paying much attention, to tell you the truth. And so there's some things I would have done differently had I been paying more attention, probably, but it's okay. I think it turned out nice in the end. You'll see. Uh, I use the ink from alcohol ink markers when I add in ink to the paintings, to the animals, because I feel like I can have a lot more control over it than the ink that comes from the bottles. Because the ink from the bottles it's kind of runnier, and so it wants to go where it wants to go, which makes it great for the backgrounds. You can get that beautiful fluidity and it just goes where it wants to go. I love that. I love that every background is so different. So every painting I do is going to be different, and I'm not really sure what it's going to be when I do it. I never plan the animals beforehand. I mean, maybe I have once or twice, but usually I just do the backgrounds and then I figure out what animal is going to look best in there. And sometimes it's obvious what it's going to be, and sometimes it's not. So this one I don't know, I felt like it was obvious that it was going to be something like a hippo or an elephant or something. I don't know, for some reason, but yeah, I settled on the hippo. Anyway, so I use my paintbrush with a little bit of alcohol on it, isopropyl alcohol, just a little touch, just to move those inks around. So I add the inks from the markers and then I move them around with my paintbrush. And that's basically it. That's how I do it. In this one, I incorporated a lot of the background in with it. I didn't remove a lot of it because those colors worked well in the hippo. But usually, when I do these paintings, I like to take the colors that are in the background and put them in the animal. I think it gives a nice sense of unity or harmony, what I don't know, whatever that principle of design is. But I that's what I like to do. So I have a reference that has all the different colors of markers on it that I made. So I take it and I just look at it and make sure I get the right colors. Then I just add them in as I go. So in this one, I'm adding in a little bit of purple there. That's kind of a purpley color. And it's not a real bright purple. It's pretty dull because the colors in that background are pretty dull purpley. And then this is kind of it's that other kind of pinkish color. I don't know, maybe cranberry-ish. I'm not sure. But that's the color that I'm adding right now into around that eye. I also added in some like an oranges, like a really light orangey color for some highlights. I also put in a little bit of a really light blue for some highlights. You might not be able to tell, but that's in there too. And now I'm adding some darks in. And so I just used a really dark, cool gray. A lot of times I don't go for darker colors. I add gray in there. So if you have alcohol ink markers, you will have probably, if you have a big enough packet of them, you will have a nice variety of grays. And there's cool grays and warm grays and blue grays and green grays. And I use those grays a lot to add value and contrast to my paintings. So you don't always have to use color because sometimes it's the same color. It's just you just want to add, a darker element to it to darken the color that you have. But since you can't layer with alcohol inks on this type of paper, you could layer with markers on regular paper, but on this type of paper you cannot. So the ink that you put on there ends up just kind of mixing with the ink that's there. But you can mix a dark gray with like a dark purple and you can get an even darkerish purple. So those are just some different options that you have when you are using alcohol ink markers. I actually really love using alcohol ink markers for this. I feel like you can get so much control, and you can see there that I'm actually drawing with the markers too. I don't like that marker look though, so I always go back in with my paintbrush and kind of smooth out those markers. You can also go in with Q-tips. I have Q-tips that are kind of pointy, and you can use those to smooth things out or create texture or all the good things. It's really just a matter of trial and error. Every time I do one of these paintings, I feel like I learn more. And I know that I'm just going to continue to learn as I go. And there's a big difference between the first ones that I did and the ones that I'm doing now. And I think that that's just going to continue. So that's really exciting. I love that about art or anything really. The more you practice, the better you get. That's just how it is. As an art teacher, I keep telling my students because they look at the things that I'm doing and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so good, whatever, whatever. And I tell them, well, you can be this good too. It just takes practice. That's all. I said I wasn't good at this when I was your age. It just takes a lot of practice. And, I'm not a young woman. So I've been doing this a long time. So if you look at the stuff that I'm doing and you get discouraged and think, oh my gosh, I could never do that, it's not true. You absolutely can. You just have to practice. That's all. Just try it and practice and don't give up. Because I see that a lot, that not just with students, but adults too. They'll get to a certain point and then they're like, oh, it looks terrible. I'm done. And no, you're not done. Keep going until it's finished, until you like it. And I feel like with alcohol inks, you can't really overwork it because you can take stuff away and add things and, get it to where you like it. That's what I do. I just keep going until it's done. Maybe not today because of my headache. I think I probably would have changed a couple things. I think I said that before, but it is what it is, and I'm going with it. So it's all good. I started this painting actually a few weeks ago. I did 3 backgrounds at a time. I went through all the alcohol ink bottles that I have and got the ones out that I've barely used. And then I kind of separated them into groupings. And then I made 3 different backgrounds. So this is the second one. The first one was the elk that I did. And so this is the second one of those 3 that I used with the inks the colors I don't usually use. So that's been really fun to see what happens because it's just all a big mystery to see how they're gonna come out. So, okay, back to this painting. I have finished the eyes and the ears, everything, and now it's just some finishing touches with that. Now you can see that he's just floating there. He's not actually in the water yet. So I have to go back through and put him in the water. So I decided that he needed a shadow underneath him. So I started with the shadow. Now I started with putting in kind of that purple color into that water or whatever. And then you'll see that I ended up changing it. It needed to be warmer. It needed to be more of that warm, kind of reddish, pinkish color. So I do go back in. I don't know if I have that recorded, but I went in and kind of changed that color of that shadow. But I just am going now, putting in shadow colors, and then you'll see I put in some ripples. I didn't put too much rippling in there because I felt like he was just kind of going slow in there. So there wasn't going to be a whole lot of rippling going on. But I think it turned out pretty good. Like I said, not my favorite, but still pretty cool. Very fun to do. Would have been more fun if I didn't have this giant headache today, but that's okay. Oh, there you go. Now I'm putting in that other color, and I think that really made the difference and made it look a lot better. So, all right. So this guy's done. You can see the finished product here. There it is. It's called Silent Passage. VickiJessing.com. Thanks. Please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. Bye-bye.